What's up YouTube? Welcome to a very special episode of Interesting Facts You Really Don't Need to Know Part 1. Today I will be counting the top 64 most uninteresting facts that you really don't need to know. Shall we begin? It is impossible to lick your elbow. A crocodile can't stick its tongue out. A shrimp's heart is in its head. People say, bless you, when you sneeze because when you sneeze, your heart stops for a millisecond. In a study of 200,000 ostriches over a period of 80 years, no one reported a single case where an ostrich buried its head in the sand. It is physically impossible for pigs to look up into the sky. A pregnant goldfish is called a twit. More than 50% of the people in the world have never made or received a telephone call. Rats and horses can vomit. If you sneeze too hard, you can fracture a rib. If you try to suppress a sneeze, you can rupture a blood vessel in your head or neck and die. If you keep your eyes open by force when you sneeze, you might pop an eyeball out. Rats multiply so quickly that in 18 months, 2 rats could have over 1 million descendants. Wearing headphones for just an hour will increase the bacteria in your ear by 700 times. In every episode of Seinfeld there is a Superman somewhere. The cigarette lighter was invented before the match. 35% of the people who use personal ads for dating are already married. A duck's quack doesn't echo, and no one knows why. 23% of all photocopier faults worldwide are caused by people sitting on them and photocopying their butts. In the course of an average lifetime you will, while sleeping, eat 70 assorted insects and 10 spiders. Most lipstick contains fish scales. Like fingerprints, everyone's tongue print is different. Over 75% of people who read this will try to lick their elbow. A crocodile can't move its tongue and cannot chew. Its digestive juices are so strong that it can digest a steel nail. Money notes are not made from paper, they are made mostly from a special blend of cotton and linen. In 1932, when a shortage of cash occurred in Tenino, Washington, USA, notes were made out of wood for a brief period. The Grammy Awards were introduced to counter the threat of rock music. In the late 1950s, a group of record executives were alarmed by the explosive success of rock and roll, considering it a threat to quality music. Tea is said to have been discovered in 2737 BC by a Chinese emperor when some tea leaves accidentally blew into a pot of boiling water. The tea bag was introduced in 1908 by Thomas Sullivan of New York. Over the last 150 years, the average height of people in industrialized nations has increased 10 centimeters, about 4 inches. In the 19th century, American men were the tallest in the world, averaging 171 meters, 5 feet 6 inches. Today, the average height for American men is 175 meters, 5 feet 7 inches, compared to 177, 5 feet 8 inches for Swedes, and 178, 5 feet 8.5 inches for the Dutch. The tallest nation in the world is the Watusis of Burundi. In 1955 the richest woman in the world was Mrs. Hetty Green Wilkes, who left an estate of $95 million in a will that was found in a tin box with 4 pieces of soap. Queen Elizabeth of Britain and Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands count under the 10 wealthiest women in the world. Joseph Niepce developed the world's first photographic image in 1827. Thomas Edison and W.K.L. Dixon introduced the film camera in 1894. But the first projection of an image on a screen was made by a German priest. In 1646, Athanasius Kircher used a candle or oil lamp to project hand-painted images onto a widescreen. In 1935 a writer named Dougie Nichols refused to accept the Oscar for his movie The Informer because the Writers Guild was on strike against the movie studios. In 1970 George C. Scott refused the Best Actor Oscar for Patton. In 1972 Marlon Brando refused the Oscar for his role in The Godfather. The system of democracy was introduced 500 years ago in Athens, Greece. The oldest existing governing body operates in Althing in Iceland. It was established in 930 AD. A person can live without food for about a month, but only about a week without water. If the amount of water in your body is reduced by just 1%, you'll feel thirsty. If it's reduced by 10%, you'll die. According to a study by the Economic Research Service, 27% of all food production in Western nations ends up in garbage cans. Yet, 1.2 billion people are underfed, the same number of people who are overweight. Camels are called ships of the desert because of the way they move, not because of their transport capabilities. A dromedary camel has one hump and a Bactrian camel two humps. The humps are used as fat storage. Thus, an undernourished camel will not have a hump. In the Durango Desert, in Mexico, there's a creepy spot called the Zone of Silence. You can pick up clear TV or radio signals. And locals say fireballs sometimes appear in the sky. Ethernet is a registered trademark of Xerox. Unix is a registered trademark of AT&T. Bill Gates' first business was Trafo Data, a company that created machines which recorded the number of cars passing a given point on a road. Uranus' orbital axis is tilted at 90 degrees. The final resting place for Dr. Eugene Shoemaker, the Moon. The famed U.S. Geological Survey astronomer trained the Apollo astronauts about craters, but never made it into space. Mr. Shoemaker had wanted to be an astronaut but was rejected because of a medical problem. His ashes were placed on board the Lunar Prospector spacecraft before it was launched on January 6, 1998. NASA crashed the probe into a crater on the Moon in an attempt to learn if there is water on the Moon. Outside the USA, Ireland is the largest software-producing country in the world. The first fossilized specimen of Australopithecus afarensis was named Lucy after the paleontologist's favorite song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, by the Beatles. Figlet, an ASCII font converter program, stands for Frank, Ian and Glenn's letters. Every human spent about half an hour as a single cell. Every year about 98% of atoms in your body are replaced. Hot water is heavier than cold. Plutonium, first weighed on August 20, 1942, by University of Chicago scientists Glenn Seaborg and his colleagues, was the first man-made element. If you went out into space, you would explode before you suffocated because there's no air pressure. The radioactive substance, Americanium-241, is used in many smoke detectors. The original IBM PCs, that had hard drives, referred to the hard drives as Winchester drives. This is due to the fact that the original Winchester drive had a model number of 3030. This is, of course, a Winchester firearm. Sound travels 15 times faster through steel than through the air. On average, half of all false teeth have some form of radioactivity. Only one satellite has ever been destroyed by a meteor, the European Space Agency's Olympus in 1993. Starch is used as a binder in the production of paper. It is the use of a starch coating that controls ink penetration when printing. Cheaper papers do not use as much starch, and this is why your elbows get black when you are leaning over your morning paper. Sterling silver is not pure silver. Because pure silver is too soft to be used in most tableware, it is mixed with copper in the proportion of 92.5% silver to 7.5% copper. A ball of glass will bounce higher than a ball of rubber. A ball of solid steel will bounce higher than one made entirely of glass. A chip of silicon a quarter-inch square has the capacity of the original 1949 ENIAC computer, which occupied a city block. An ordinary TNT bomb involves atomic reaction, and could be called an atomic bomb. What we call an A-bomb involves nuclear reactions and should be called a nuclear bomb. At a glance, the Celsius scale makes more sense than the Fahrenheit scale for temperature measuring. But its creator, Anders Celsius, was an oddball scientist. When he first developed his scale, he made freezing 100 degrees and boiling 0 degrees, or upside down. No one dared point this out to him, so fellow scientists waited until Celsius died to change the scale. At a jet plane speed of 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles per hour, the length of the plane becomes one atom shorter than its original length. The first full moon to occur on the winter solstice, December 22nd, commonly called the first day of winter, happened in 1999. Since a full moon on the winter solstice occurred in conjunction with a lunar perigee point in the moon's orbit that is closest to Earth, the moon appeared about 14% larger than it does at apogee, the point in its elliptical orbit that is farthest from the Earth. Since the Earth is also several million miles closer to the Sun at that time of the year than in the summer, sunlight striking the moon was about 7% stronger, making it brighter. Also, this was the closest perigee of the moon of the year since the moon's orbit is constantly deforming. In places where the weather was clear and there was a snow cover, even car headlights were superfluous. According to security equipment specialists, security systems that utilize motion detectors won't function properly if walls and floors are too hot. When an infrared beam is used in the motion detector, it will pick up a person's body temperature of 98.6 degrees compared to the cooler walls and floor. If the room is too hot, the motion detector won't register a change in the radiated heat of that person's body when it enters the room and breaks the infrared beam. Your home safety might be compromised if you turn your air conditioning off or set the thermostat too high while on summer vacation. Western Electric successfully brought sound to motion pictures and introduced systems of mobile communications which culminated in the cellular telephone. On December 23, 1947, Bell Telephone Laboratories in Murray Hill, NJ, held a secret demonstration of the transistor which marked the foundation of modern electronics. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed. This episode has been brought to you by the letters P and R and by the number 23. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day.